All right. So, as a author, you have to like. I really don't like asking for donations because it seems like you begging, but to know that like I seen in the Uber today because I always tip the drivers, and the lady had a sign that said that donations aren't required, but they're appreciated. And that's kind of how I feel like with this work. I put a lot of money and like I fund all of this shit myself. So like I'm doing groundwork right now, like real groundwork. And um you'll see like I went to an excavation site today on an indigenous ground um that they're painting the narrative was a plantation. And the reason why they're painting this narrative is because we, as the real Americans, I spoke to somebody from Turkey yesterday and he told me that I was an American. He viewed me as an American. And I actually asked him about the Turks of South Carolina. But as the Americans who set up society, set up civilization, everything that civilization entails, from monarchies to matriarchies to republics to democracies, all of that was set up by us. And that's a good book to complement what I just said is Wonderful Ethiopians by Josiah Dungeon Houston. It's about to be 100 years, 100 years old during my 26 year. My 26 year is um next year. So it'd have been something if I was born in 2000, because I would have been 26, my 26th year, born on the 26th day. Um, and my son is born on the 26th day of his month, and his mom is born on the 26th day of her month. Um, so that's really incredible. That's our house. My daughter is still in the house when you add her, like when you add her, the first four plus the second four, because it's a total of 8 in your birthday when you actually write it from 0, 1, 2, 6 format, or 1, 2, 3. You feel what I'm saying? So you place that 0 in there. But if it's past 9, then it's going to be, 10, 11, and 12. It's going to be the first set. If you're born in October, November, or December, this is mathematics, supreme knowledge. So when you go on the Uber map, you see a lot of the original names of these territories. So I'm in Carolina Bay, and I have to say that at Carolina Bay was the first colony, successful colony by the English, okay? We have long had treaties with the English. They knew about Carolina. They came to Carolina, and where I went today was a historical site where the English had their first successful settlement. Okay, so for them having their first successful settlement, I'm going to show you some of the pictures that I seen. And the downloads that I got was that slavery did not have anything to do with us, the parent nation. When you look up the definition of colony, and I'm tempted to go get it and read it because it's, even though I've read it before, it's always really good to reiterate. It's always good to reiterate. Let me do this. I got a better idea. See that? Look who they got depicted as the slaves. So understand is that the the Lord proprietors got their charter from the king, which was Carolina, but they called it Charles. But Charles is really Carlos. And Carlos, my brother, and he Lakota. Do you get the point? So once the proprietors got their charter, then they were able to get a constitution, which in 1670, which was the time that this happened, that all of this went down. And I got a better picture of this too. Okay. So during the time that all of this went down, we established a constitution. We established a constitution. We, the parent company, it's the parent, I keep saying parent company, but parent country. But the countries became companies. And you see that now, nations are corporations. But when we have a nation, it's unincorporated. Our nations were unincorporated. They weren't incorporated. Okay? So when we had this constitution, that was just of the real. And you see that in the supremacy clause, it says that nope, the white man wasn't supreme, they were slaves. The white people wasn't. What is white supremacy? What is where I just left from had these English subjects as the indentured servants. And you see they getting chained, whipped. So the definition of a colony is a field, acreage, settlement that's within the realms of a dominant nation, in this case Carolina. So we have this is where for black people, Negroes, melanated humans, the people who consider themselves black and nothing else, they don't consider themselves indigenous, they don't consider themselves more. I'm talking to you. The people who look at this from a political standpoint, that's what I'm talking to. Because even in politics, it's history. So now here's the history with facts. Here's the history with facts. So the colony, and I'm going to go get the definition of it and I'm going to read it, but I'm still going to talk to you about this work. So we have this mindset that, oh, this is Massachusetts colony. Massachusetts is the original name, indigenous name of the indigenous tribes that were in that territory. The Wampanoag. And during my site visit today, it said that the peninsula was a great landmass used for trade and commerce. And they were very dangerous because it was easy to access. So for pirates and oncomers, it's like putting yourself, it's like it's like having your apartment on the streets. You feel what I'm saying? With big windows and everybody can see what's inside of there. That's how it was with these bays. That's where you get the bay from, the Turk, because Istanbul is a bay. Istanbul is a bay. So this is a bay. That is what a bay is. That's a bay. That's a bay. That's like Turkey. Okay? So that's a bay. That's a peninsula. I say it looked like a click. I say it looked like a click because of how it opens up. And I'm gonna show you here in a second. I got it. Matter of fact, it might be on now. Allah Subhan. I don't have a picture of a picture. So all of these colonies were charters or land grants written into the chartered by the kings of these nations. Okay. So in this case, King Charles, which was Carlos, right? King Charles of England, descendants of William and Lucy and Henry and Edward. And Matilda, right? This is a trust. So with this trust, with the trust, England was its own separate nation. However, it had treaties and alliances with other nations. This is where you get the concept of the United Kingdom. So we operated as an empire. We've always operated as an empire. An empire is a conglomerate of nations that function. If you good in this nation, you also good in this nation. If you good in Palestine, you good in Jordan. You good in Baghdad. You good in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Egypt. This is the whole going across North Africa. Okay, so look up the Carolinian Empire. Look up the Carolinian Empire. 751. Started by who? Charles. So we talking about Charlemagne? We talking about Charlemagne the God? This is where he from, by the way. We talking about Charles Martellus. We talking about Carlos Martellus. We talking about Carlos Martez, nigga. Dickerson. I'm a Dickerson. If my mama would have took on her father's name, and he would have, and his mama, his father, her father, would have took on his mama name, he would have been a Dickerson. My grandfather would have been a Dickerson. So and if my mama would have took on, that's like if my kids would have took on my mama maiden name, they'd be Joneses. That'd be Nasir Jones with Darrell Bones. Man, that's crazy. So yeah, you gotta do the work. So I saw this place from a bird eye view before I seen it from the ground view. That's like FedEx Air, FedEx Ground. And we ground up. See? And now they got it right. I think this is all strategic because now it's like you can't even see the words, but it's all right because I'm gonna get this information. So it say on the edge of an empire. You see that much, right? All right. As long as you see that. You see if you can't see that, but that's England flag right there. That's flying. That's letting you know that this is English territory. So now, what conceptually, Moors, what you have to do is take back what was taken from you. So that flag was taken from you. That flag was taken from you. The Confederate flag was taken from you. All of these flags taken from you. Scotland's flag was taken from you. Ireland's flag was taken from you. All of these Austria's flag was taken from you. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And then they put you in a black box. Really, they didn't put you in that box. You put yourself in that box. I'm guilty of this. You put yourself in that box because you didn't go and do the ground research of who you were. So with these colonies were jurisdictions within the parent jurisdiction, which the Cherokee Nation had its tribal council and its tribal nation, the Clans Nation. 1810. All the way up to 1810. So now my storage full and you can't see but I got backup. On this camera here, I got backup. Can't blur the books. Shout out to my healthcare advisor. Which is the healthcare advisor should be your insurance. We as men have to start here first, setting examples by getting insurance policies. Not just life insurance, you need health insurance. I'm talking for don't depend on no job. Colony right here. Colony. It says the group of people who leave their native country to form in a new land a settlement subject to or connected with the parent nation. The Moravians, records of the Moravians amongst the Cherokee. Boy, I wish I could. I got pictures, man. I got pictures. I got videos. So you're going to see it. I just want you to know what angle I'm coming from when I'm out there doing that research. Man. So, as I'm looking, Bathabara, Wachovia. From Charlestown, a letter from Henry. Listen, okay. From Charlestown, literally this route, states that Charlestown Landing states that in spite of the recent peace treaty with the Creeks, treaties have crossed the Savannah and have killed 14 persons in Long Cane Bottom. Also, that Cherokees have offered to take, this is to my hometown. This is a letter to my hometown from where I'm at right now. 1764. Also, that the Cherokees have offered to take part of the English, against the Creeks, but that opinion differed as to whether they should be accepted. This is why you gotta do the work, and this is how you rewarded for the work. Bro, I'm gonna keep reading. And others here in New River, they reported that the little carpenter and his Cherokees have left New River and returned to their nation. That it is generally believed that the Indians will not make claim to that section, still less take his possession of it, and that there are people, and that the people are again settling on the Holston River. Do you get that? That's crazy. Where is that at? The Holston River? Again, yeah, look on. Let me see how far. Holston River. The Holston River is in Tennessee. Okay. But that's so crazy. Wachovia, January 13th, 1964. The parent nation returned to the nation. Now look. Southwest from here, behind South Carolina, are the Cherokees, a great nation. I cannot assert definitely whether there is peace or war between them and the Six Nations. The Tuscaroras say the Cherokees have made peace with the Five Nations, and the Cherokees say the same. So let me see here. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, baby. That is real Bohemia. Damn. Throughout the early years, the Moravian Church declared illegal. Let me see. Here, go right here. Red clay. Moravians, what? This is books that they were keeping from you. It says, for hundreds of years, if not longer, the Cherokees had lived in towns and were governed by clan law. Each Cherokee belonged to one of the 7 clans, which was always the mother's clan. When the Moravians arrived around 1800, the Cherokee were no longer living in towns and homes clustered together, but were spread out in farms, but still allied. So that's like the projects and the country. So instead of us living in the projects in the city, we were living out on the farm at our grandma and them house. You feel what I'm saying? However, the clan law remained in effect. One should be aware of the clan system and reading early records of the Moravians, as it permitted all aspects of Cherokee life. Now, it says that the records tell the development of the codified law of the Cherokee. This is the parent nation, the Cherokee Nation. Their close relationship for many years, and this is why it's very important for you to be competent. The close relationship for many years with the assistant principal chief, Charles Reckness Hicks, gives an insight on his character, and it works towards creating a constitutional form of government for the Cherokee people. Bruh. And the constitutional form of government. So by the time that these settlers got here in 1670, I showed you the receipt. It's the same year we established the Constitution for Carolina. That's the parent nation. And you're going to see that in that parent nation, that Constitution, we had colonies. We, had colonies written. We wrote the colonies in our constitution to let you know that one was not superior to the other. The colony was not superior to the nation. The nation was superior to the colony. Man. And so this is going to be the first, before I go into the series of me out there, I want this to be the, like the introduction to my study. When the Great International Indian Council was held in Tahlequah in 1843, each of them had 3 missionaries attend the event at different times. Each of them wrote their own descriptions of the council. These accounts give many details of the great events that are recorded nowhere else. Following the rebuilding of the Cherokee Nation in the West, the records tells of the divisions leading up to the American Civil War and the difficulties of the Cherokee people, particularly the mission families, as the war began. One of the Cherokees, James Ward, was employed at the mission but was killed in 1862. At the same time, Mr. Ward and the missionary Gilbert Bishop were arrested by federal troops. Upon release, the Moravians were forced to close their missions and return to the east until after the conclusion of the Civil War. The Cherokees were split during the Civil War. Each side gained control of the nation at different times. The homes and buildings of the opposing side were usually burnt. In this manner, the Cherokee Nation endured more devastation than any of the other states. The records of the replete with the building of the nation. So what was going on was, so when the king was issuing these Castle right here, this is who essentially was ushering them English subjects in. They were subjects to Charles, which was the Caroline. That's the king. That was the king of England. The England, this is our empire. This is how far it stretched. So he was essentially letting his subjects come into this new world, and they were coming in, and when they came into the new world, they needed a system that worked. So slavery was a system that we used in the Americas for that was essentially our prehistoric system of imprisonment, right? Because there's always been right or wrong and discipline. And so when the colonizers came over here, they adopted that blueprint in order to grow their settlement. Okay? But you have to understand that these were for English subjects. Now, again, we always had that cross because that's why you got to get ancient and modern Britain, right? Because the ancient Britain it included all of these nations in America. We was an empire within an empire. These were empires within empires that was connected to other empires. So you have the clan. First you got your family, and then the family is multiple families come together to create a clan. Multiple clans come together to create tribes. Multiple tribes come together to form nations. Multiple nations come together to form empires, in that order. But it starts with you. It starts with you. You got to know who you are. What family do you come from? Now, the family that you come from is going to define the tribe that you come from, or your clan. And the clan that you come from is going to define the tribe that you come from. So 2 clans come together, that forms a tribe. That's like the Saponi Okanichi, which is me. So for my case, the Slade is the Saponi and the Jones is the Okanichi. And they came together to cross. It was like multiple crosses. That was like the English and the Franks and England and French, who had long been rivals. But now you born with English and French blood. Hmm. So that's what all of this is all about. That's what the marriages are about. And I actually seen a marriage today on the Charlestown landing site. So that was where the first settlement within Carolina, which was on this peninsula that I just showed you, Coropolis, which was a ancient metropolis, port city. So why you think they wanted to come here? And this is why we popped off, because we had a code and we had a seal, and our seal was to never be broken. And that seal was to honor your mama. And how do you honor your mama? You continue to build her house with the blueprints that she gave you. We don't sell her house. And so when mama's house got sold to these by way of a charter with these land grants, it didn't get sold, it got granted. All right. So when that happened, there was a side of mama children that fought another side of mama children who was selling it off. And then so those they got it the worst, because they got it from they was getting it. This is where you get the Chickamauga from. So now they own siblings coming at them for selling their mama land. And then on the flip side, the people who they sold the land to turned on them, and now they coming at them. That's where you get the American Civil War at, because they didn't need land to escape England. They needed land so that they could come and conquer you. So it was a group of mama children who overstood that and said, "Don't trust them niggas," because they were niggas. These the the subjects were the pale skinned Europeans, but those British royals who was giving them the the go ahead to come over here was them Moors who was in Spain. And you seen, like, when you go there, it's going to talk about the rivalry between the English and the Spanish, because these were original Spanish colonies. But then the Spaniards were going up into England, and they were becoming nobles and royals in England, and they were having this understanding of what Spain was already doing, right? And meanwhile, England turning on Spain and taking all of Spain's booty that they got from South America and the Americas from the discoveries. That's why you got rid of discoveries, because they were taking ship, like they have a boat there that was actually seized. So these are Spanish boats that the English were seizing over here. Okay. So this is deep, but what you have to get out of is the colonizer mindset, because now it's like, boom, they wasn't bringing you over here. You was already over here. You were already over here. You was already over here. You were already over here. So how did they bring you here when they came here and found you? They found look up the writs and the discoveries from John Lawson that he took back to England. And the depictions, he said that Carolina was ruled by absolute monarchy. So it was Negroes that looked just like me that was coming out of these castles on these, literally, in Forsyth County. And see, originally the monarchs were honoring the matriarchs, and the reason why the monarchs were ushered in was to hold the crown of their mama while she left, and to preserve it for when she came back. You feel what I'm saying? So when mama left, her matriarch dome, the son essentially became the regent. He wasn't the matriarch. And so when you see the original seal for Carolina, it's the mother and the woman. It's the mother and the father. But then they took out and then we had the lion. But then they took out and switched it up and brought in the unicorn. Because now that was the dishonor to mama. That's where it started at. That's where you get that Whittemore party from. So mama trusted us to uphold our divine masculinity, that alpha male leadership, because she wanted to be that. She couldn't do it to the extent that we did it, because the creator wanted the mother to rest in her divine feminine. This is why on the chessboard, the queen don't move. Yes, she can move. Yes, she can take out the trash. Yes, she can cut the grass. However, it's also bringing strain on that woman. So therefore, the alpha male has to go out and mow the line, or he brings in, this is where the kingdom comes in. So the king don't move unless he have to. So if he don't have the revenue to afford to pay a knight to go out and cut the grass for him, then he gonna go out and do the work of the night. And I don't play chess, but life is chess. You gotta play life chess. I know I play life chess. I play life chess. I play life chess. So this is my review, Charles. This is literally, and the crazy thing is, you're gonna see in the video that I was saying, I was just kind of, I wasn't like doing a build like this because it's an open setting and there's people around and they throw my energy off. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I'm just letting everything soak into my subconscious mind so that I can come back and give these reports. And by the way, like, this is all, like, I don't get no funding for this. I don't get nothing. And I seen a sign today in the Uber. It says that tips aren't required, but they're appreciated, right? And that's how I feel with the work that I'm doing, because I put a lot of money, I put a lot of time, Ubers, bro, paying the fees to, like, it was $12 to get in there. You feel what I mean? So somebody could donate that to me so that I can bring this information back to the people. You know what I mean? And so I don't like asking for that, because I'm gonna get it done type person. I'm gonna get it done type person. But yeah, this is when you actually really doing this real research and you really on the front line and you really having these conversations and you in rooms that a lot of people that you look like and that come from where you come from ain't in, and you got to speak for all of them. Man, it's real work. It's real work. A lot of people scared. A lot of people scared to do it, and I do it for them too because I get it. You know what I'm saying? I seen a bear today. That bear came up at me, rah, and I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, bro, shit, you had me in the first half. Ooh, shit. I'm like, I really don't get scared, but I'm like, he came out. I'm like, man, I'm part of the bear tribe. What are you talking about? Long live Dottie, long live Dottie. He calmed down. I seen a buffalo, a bison today, and they got them literally in cages on these colonies. And I told him, I'm like, man, I'm like, we just alike. I told the bison, I said, we just alike. I'm like, we in zoos on our own land. We are in human zoos on our own land. And the bisons are in zoos on their own land. And that's where the mix up had happened. We started becoming, like, once we forgot who we were, we started joining the colonies' Rolodexes and consensus. So once we joined their consensus, it's just like the story of Roots. They call you whatever they want to call you. So they branded you black. They branded you African American. They branded you colored. They branded you Native American to take you away from your indigenous roots. So now you got this brand, and it wasn't the last name. Your last name was royal. That was the royal families that you was coming from. That was literally the royal families that you were coming from. And like with the Slade family, like if you go look up the original names of the families that were in Hyde County and how they were Indian names and not white people names. Just type that in. However you type it in, there's reports on it. They said that these names that were presumed to be white people names were actually Indian names, and the Indian were really the indigo, which were the indigenous people of these lands, which were me and you. And it had also that this land, this territory that this first settlement was in was called Socorro. So the original name for Carolina is Socorro. Shout out to 432 The Drop for bringing that to us. It's drop 119, 120, 121, 122. So shout out to that Prester John, Juan, Don, Juan, Jan. You know what I mean? But yeah, so the first they could not afford you. They couldn't afford you. They could not afford you niggas because you had a high price. You had a high price that they couldn't afford. It's like you a gun. They couldn't afford the gun. It's like you gold. They had to buy the gold first. It was a trade, but they could not afford you. So the white boys was like cheap. They got it right there. So they enslaved their own. Oh, now they came back. It's clearing up now. Bet. Bet, bet, bet. Bet, 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 bet. Bet. Oh, this one ain't. Shit. It is what it is. You can still see the tapestry. Man. You still see it. They was cheap, so they was affordable. Maybe if I cut the phone off and cut it back on. But yeah. So that's real work. Real grounding work. It ain't easy, but so I went to 2 historical indigenous sites that were turned plantations this week. The other one was in Raleigh at Dorothea Dix Park. And we went out there and I felt that there's imagine this. I just want you to imagine this. We not going fact or fiction, bitch. Just follow me. So imagine you the same person over and over and over again. You never die, but you seeing everything evolve, and so you seeing humanity evolve. The way humans is thinking is evolving. The way that you thinking is evolving. The way that you see the world is evolving. But you still remembering who you are. So you come from these royal families of this nation that's a part of these tribes, that's a part of the families of the royal bloodlines. And you see the motion of these foreigners coming in. You seeing the brothers turning on their brothers because one sold you out. So your mama land out, and you watching it happen, and you not saying nothing. You unmovable. So you seeing look at the wars between the Cherokee and the Catawba. You feel what I mean? Because you always had one that was for colonization, and you had the other ones that was against it. So this is where self accountability come in at. So them Democrats and them leftists, politicians, those were the ones that were like, yeah, come on over here. Sure. Yeah, you can settle. Yeah, we got some land. Yeah, of course you have some land. And so when they brought them in, boom, they was plotting against them. Do you understand that point? Do you get that? So now the subjects were like, we not gonna pay y'all British royals no more because you were the British royal. It was your government. And that's why the Constitution say avoid democracies. Avoid the democracies. Avoid democracy. So now these subjects turned against, they broke free from the British crown. Well, who had the British crown? Charlotte. So the same time Charlotte was the queen and held possession of the crown was the same time that these subjects that Charlotte's who she descend from, these Englishmen, right, who was giving out these land grants without permission, by the way. You got to get permission from the tribal council. And I looked that up today. I was gonna pull that up. I'm getting all this in here. I don't care if it's long. I'm getting these points across. All right, bet. They got it on there now. The edge of an empire. All right. It's right here. The war between Spain and England ended 10 years before the founding of Charlestown. But the hatreds, now I just read you a letter from Charlestown to Wachovia, Bafavra. It's Hebrew for the house of passage. Get the Hebrew Bible and look up John 128. So we talking to Jerusalem. This is ancient, bro. Look. So the war between Spain and England ended 10 years before the founding of Charlestown. But the hatred and mistrust between the two empires remain in an era of empire building. Charlestown's existence directly challenged Spain's claim on the land they called Socorro. The colonists implored the support of the Lord Ashley against the Spanish threat. We are here settled in these very chaps of the Spaniards. Aware of the imminent threat, the settlers prepared themselves for the worst. These earthen fortifications that look like mounds, bro. Bro, I promise you, they look like mounds. So that might be a cover up that they call in with 12 cannons stretched the already formidable natural defenses of the marsh and rivers against the Spaniard naval forces. Spain had controlled the region between St. Aug and St. Aug. If you get Jay Rogers, it's going to tell you that St. Aug was the first place that white people came, like who we calling white people, came into America at. Before that, it was none of them here. And that was in the 1500s. St. Aug. It says the region between St. Aug and St. Helena since 1560 in the 1500s. With the arrival of the English in 1670, right, this became the disputed territory. So, Spanish ships, August 1670. St. Catalina. This is the Gullah Geechee Coast. That's the Gullah Geechee coastline. So Charlestown fortifications as they appear. Did I get a picture of that? I did, and I got it on the other phone. So again, y'all gonna see all of that. So this is them niggas that was welcoming their subjects to come and settle on mama land. This is again it's an estate. That's all it is. All right, I took a picture of it. A council of elders is a governing body composed of respected senior individuals who provide guidance and make decisions for a community. This concept exists in various real-world contexts, such as indigenous tribes and political bodies, as well as numerous fictitious universes, where so an empires amongst empires makes up a universe. A modern example of the Elders is an international non-governmental organization founded by Nelson Mandela. The fiction. In traditional societies, these councils often act as custodians of customs and traditions, teaching the transmuting of cultural norms and serving as moral exemplars. So that's like the United Nations. Decisions making, or the ICC or the ICJ, they typically make decisions based on the collective wisdom and experience of their members. Indigenous communities, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this is important that I'm reading this. Indigenous communities. Many indigenous tribes around the world have or had a council of elders as a key part of their governance structure. Okay, so right now there's this bigot about Happy Hill being not an indigenous community, but a community of ex-slaves. All right, now I serve on the Happy Hill board, and this is what I'm advocating that before I got on the board, this is what got me on the board, is my knowledge of Happy Hill. No, I don't. I didn't live in Happy Hill, or I didn't have any family members that did, but my grandma was from the adjoining community on the other side of the highway. And on top of that, the wall town stretches all the way to where my forefathers come from, all the way to 220, Saponi and Okanichi territory. So Wall was the original name of the territory, Wachovia. So Walltown is Wachovia Town. Wa is short for Wachovia or Watu. And the Salem Creek on old maps was called Walk Creek. This is the indigenous tribe. So we were amongst these creeks and these river systems long before 1670. We had to usher in a constitution in 1670 in order to set the record straight. It was like a state of emergency. So you had niggas that ain't care about none of that was just popping off. As soon as the ink was signed, you had niggas popping off. Like, this is what that shit was about, bro. That's what it was about. But then you had like members like me that's like, all right, these wars is going off, but the pen is mightier than the sword. So we got to write these constitutions so we don't forget who we are, because like if people dying on both sides, we about to forget Carolina as a whole, what it was, and we're gonna be lost. We're gonna be lost. And so that's where we are right now in real time, like real time. So Happy Hill is an indigenous community, but politically it has become now I just showed you who the slaves were. It showed you. You gotta go places. Slave is French for Slavic women. A slave is a Slave. Someone from Czechoslovakia, which was Bohemia. All right. That's where these Moravians came from, because they were indentured servants looking for land to settle on and to cling on through religion. And they use it against you, because now they baptize you in the name of their Christ. That's what this book is talking about. They came with education and religion. They hit you upside the boom, boom, boom. Now you forgot who you were. In the name of Jesus. That's it. They hit you from those two angles right there. This is literally it. Boom. So they slaved your mind and made you think that you were them. It said you picked up on their culture. So their culture was indentured servitude. And so now you was like, oh, well, that was us. And we the descendants of slaves. So we need to get reparations. No, you need to restore your nation. It's right here. So Happy Hill is an indigenous community that was an indigenous historical site that excavations have been done. Retina scans have been done over our cemeteries, and they found over 1,100 more. Let me read the historical marker that was unveiled this year. I spoke at it. And so I knew it was coming. And this is why I met with Martha all this time ago, because she's behind this committee. And I told her we not African Americans. And then that they have an African American cemetery there, but you can't find none of the grave. Like, it's not like it's not what you think it is. It's not a risk. It's you walking over it, but you don't know you walking over it. I had to be silent, and those people literally was telling me, like, the dead talk to me. They channeled. They know me. They know that I'm representing and I'm their voice. So they're like, "Hey, man, it's not what they telling you." In other words, they not African Americans. They the original Aboriginal Carolinians. They the original Aboriginal Carolinians. See how that rolled off my tongue? Why would you not want to be that? But you in it. But you got Carolina on your driver's license. You got it on your license plate. Dang, Dottie. Fuck. Okay, where am I going? I need to go to June 22nd, 2025. That's when that. Okay, here we are. So, so you see this? These are all. This is the Happy Hill Cemetery map. You see all them they discovered? So if they did that, if they use that same technology at Charlestown Landing, at the African American Cemetery, and then look at what the jewels that they took from these people that they were calling the African American that they discovered in their tombs. See, our tombs was the banks. If you read Exodus 35, you'll see that was our culture. That was the ritual or the rites of passage for the funeral ceremony for Aaron, the high priest. But so you don't think he was amongst them in that? So just imagine how much wealth is in those cemeteries. So they removed these cemeteries. Who is these people? So you don't think that nobody that's buried out there was a part of the indigenous tribes, the original indigenous tribes of the Cherokee Nation that was running the occupation there all the way up to the 1800s? Really on the front line. Really am on the front line. I really am. This is me speaking. That's me speaking on this. There, live, at the historical marker unveiling. This is the work I'm doing. The Mississippian culture, Native American civilization, we're going to say Aboriginal American civilization, thrived in the Midwestern, Eastern, and Southeastern United States. The Southeastern, so the South, from roughly 800 to 1600. Until you niggas started selling out. Characterized by the building of large earthen mounds forming from earth. So Happy Hill, is it a mound? Large earthen mounds forming urban settlements and satellite villages. The Mississippians were skilled farmers, artisans, and traders. They are considered ancestral to many historic and modern day American Indian nations. Dog, I got a picture of that buffalo. So that's the map. Here are the families. I mean, it goes on. These are the families or the names of the peoples that's buried there. Shout out to Tanya Sheffield. Shout out to Tanya. That's her right there. Amongst the original people from the land. Shout out to Tanya. So this is all the families. They last name first. In alphabetical order. That's still going. So let me read the historical marker to you. This is my tribe. That's my tribe. We part of the Nubian nation. Right? Through Carolina. My kids is baptized in Carolina. They bathed in Baptist. All right. Happy Hill Cemetery. I'm going to read it like this. It say African American, but I'm going to say indigenous. An indigenous burial ground. Call it for what it is. Was established after the freemen community was founded. Now, the etymology of Carolina is the freeman. Founded across the creek from Salam, Jerusalem, in 1872. Members of Happy Hill founding families are buried here along with later residents or regents of the neighborhood or village and the city or metropolis. Approximately 1,500 death records from 1895, approximately 100 years before I was born, to 1965, 30 years before I was born, name Happy Hill as the place of burial, but only 115 so grave markers are visible. 115. In 1966, 200 sets of remains were removed or moved to Nat Watkins' property behind Oak Grove Baptist Church in Walkertown. When the construction of U.S. Highway 52 claimed the east end of the cemetery, descendants of the community began restoration efforts in 2009. You can't restore that. You can't restore that. You cannot restore that. You can't restore that. The families didn't give consent for them bodies to be removed. So that's law. That's lawsuits. That's the action for equity. But we were sold, and we were sold on the 14th Amendment, so we never sued. Whereas the Fifth Amendment gives you the right to sue. It says that no property taken, because all the property was in the caskets with the people. Let me see. We're going to, man, I'm coming to a close. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Them people are supposed to get paid. Them indigenous people, them families, the estates were supposed to be paid. The estates were supposed to be paid. The estate precedes you in death or succeeds you in death. My fault. So after you die, your estate is still there. You're still gonna have an estate, right? And so what happened with us was we never took claim of our forefathers' estates, so the public trust did. So now that the public trust took control of it, they didn't have to pay it because it was a part of their internal network. That's why estate planning is so important. And that's exactly what I just said. That's what happened that was the strategy. That's why that's what the whole strategy of what the colony was set up for. But we were looking at it like, boom, they gonna pay us taxes for living here. We were looking at it from a commerce standpoint. Yeah, they can come here. Now we're going to charge them a fee for landing here. We're going to charge them a fee for lodging here. We're going to charge them a fee for our products and our produce. So this is good for our economy. Whole time they looking at our treasuries. So I didn't reference a lot of books tonight, but I was on site. So that accounts for it a lot. And um I pray that this cast, like, I was walking through the slave quarters and I'm like, I don't want to say I ain't feel nothing. I'm like, what you want me to feel bad? Like, I'm like, man, I had a great day. I'm doing real work. I'm like, man, I'm excited. I love this. I can have this conversation with anybody. So stop subscribing yourself to low vibrational frequencies. How about that? Sorry, I was having tunnel vision. Sorry, I was making plays. It's chess, man, not checkers. So yeah, man. And when y'all watch these videos, you're gonna see all of that. The excavations, I got a video of the stuff that the the what was in these caskets of these at the African American burial. But the African Americans, again, these were aboriginals, right? And when I say that, people get their feathers ruffled like, no, we come from Africa. Okay, bet if you come from Africa, you still aboriginal because we were mixing with all of these were all a part of our empire, so they were all originally welcome here. If you from Morocco, if you from Mauritania, if you from Tunis, you were welcome in the Carolinas, vice versa. Hence why the Carolinian Empire was stretched over the Mediterranean. All of those nation states were France, Spain, Germany, Austria, Bohemia, uh, the Netherlands, all of these, Italy, Lombardia. Man, them white folks was looking at me talking about that on the grounds. I'm telling you, they were like shook. They like, yo, ooh, yeah, because we one of the original ones. Why you think that? Like, okay, for the people who like, we wasn't American Indian. That wasn't us. That was these other people that came across the Bering Strait and settled on these vacant lands, and then boom. I want you to look at the customs and the culture and the pottery and the artifacts and the style of dress, the hair textures, the phenotype, the build of the original Americans, and compare that to any African civilization, the Mayan, the Aztec, right? The Chinese, all of these were the same people. And you're trying to separate yourself. By you separating yourself, you're trying to separate your people from it. Like, nah, that's somebody else. He not us. But you claiming that you from Africa. Go back to Africa then. Everybody that's from Africa, go back to Africa. Go back. Why are you in America? If it's like if all of this happened to you in America, be like sincere and go back to Africa. And when y'all went back to Africa, you niggas that was originally from here, when you went back to Africa, the Africans was like, y'all, what y'all doing here? We need y'all over there. Y'all was our plug. You was our plug. Now we ain't got no plug. Now the white man our plug. Nigga. But you was over there. Nah, we from over here. Now you perpetrating. So that's a violation. So that was literally what the civil wars in Liberia was about. That literally was why they were popping off in Liberia. It was American niggas. It's a difference. It's a difference from niggas in California and niggas in Kentucky. It's a difference from the niggas that's in Kentucky and the niggas that's in Maryland. It's a difference from the people that's in Maryland, in Baltimore, and the people that's from DC. It's a difference from the people that's in DC from the people that's in Philly. It's a difference between the people that's in Philly from the people that's in New York. But they all come from Carolina. But when you go to different geographical regions, then you start talking different. It's a difference from the people that's in New York than the people that's in Boston. These are all the original empires, by the way. Do you feel me? The people that's in Boston, they have similarities, but they slightly different because they all offshoot one another. That's how you get it's the poetry of the creator through humanity. We got different shades, different dialects, different hair textures, different phenotypes, so that we can blend together to create a more perfect human. That's a pinch of a whole glass of B. That's the bay. That's Tina K. Bay. That's Tina Bay. Just man. So yeah, they tried to, they can't do it, man. Shout out to my son's soccer squad, man. They be going to get it, bro. They be going to get it. Like these kids be going to get it, man. Like they go to get it. They go to get it. Like they are very competitive and they work extremely hard. And now they're like listening now, like they taking this shit serious, man. And I love it. I love it. I love like the one kid, his name is TJ, and like he scored today and he's like, yeah. And I love it. These kids 5, 6 years old and they got passion. Like, bruh, for real. Like that's a core. I love the core dude. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. My son, he's out there like he got cheated because he had a fast break. My son is good at getting the ball open and getting the fast breaks. And so like he had a fast break, but the goalie had went past his little box and like he was like in between like the halfway like midfield and the goal, like right in between like so like at the quarter field line marker my son had got to, but the goalie had went all the way up there and had grabbed the ball. I'm like, dang, they cheated him out of a shot. But you know, it's all good. And I think I even got that play. But a matter of fact, I know I do. But yeah, like them kids played hard today, dog. Like they played hard. Like they play hard and like they play with heart, they play with passion. They're learning um, teamwork. You know that I like how their coach was telling them how to space out today. So they were spacing out. Um, my you know and like for real, I gave all of them hand. Like I like how all of them are playing. And so like where we are now with humanity is like it's these Europeans. They're knowing the real. They knowing they're telling the truth and they know who exactly who we are, and they're giving us our respect, for who we are and acknowledging us. But it's our people that we can't see us because we have to heal from the damage that we've done to one another. That's what this is all about. It don't really have nothing to do with the white folk. They're like they're they're hurting for us. Like, dang, I wish they they can heal from what they done. Not what they done to us, but not saying what they did to us didn't hurt and didn't make us mad and angry and shit. But it didn't have to be like that in the first. Like, it wasn't. We gave them more than what was required. You know, they were literally just here to, because we always had that human element. I see both sides. Like, yeah, y'all can come here. Yeah, y'all good. But at the same time, that right there is what got us here. So it's supposed to be a better solution. So now what we're doing in evolution is really going back to the core principles of humanity. And if you're not abiding by that, then the creator gonna deal with you. You feel what I mean? However, like, nothing gonna stop the matriarch girl from being back in her seat, and like her trusted sons is gonna be her delegated audoratives. And if you interfere with mama and her son again, her righteous sons, then she's literally, like, she's been in the Atlantic, she's been sending warning signs. Like, she'll send these big hurricanes, like they about to come inland, and then it'll pivot. Like, don't fuck with him. She'll throw a flood in a high mountain terrain. You know what I'm saying? Away from the rivers, away from the banks, to say, don't fuck with you. You see what I'm saying? Letting you know she there. You know, and one thing you don't ever want to do is anger a black woman. You don't want to make them angry. You don't want to make them angry. It's just certain women I do not want to make angry, and my sister is one of them. One of my sisters. My other sisters, yeah. But my older sister, I don't want to upset her. I don't want to. I'm literally scared of my sister. She one of them Khalifa queens. Like, my sister literally, my older sister, her name is Cairo. Carolina. Carolina. She's a Khalif. She's a Khalifite. She from California. And so she looked like her, and her daughters look like the Khalifa queens. Like, if you look at the Khalifa queens, that's what they look like. That's literally my blood sisters. And so that's the epitome of the wind goddess. So yeah, man, that was healing for me. I've been meaning to get out there to do those ground studies for a minute, but I had the opportunity today. Phone ended up dying after. I mean, it's still some places I'm looking for, because they got a wooden Indian head out there, and I gotta find where that's at, because it's a big maze out there for real. But I was flowing. So, you're gonna see, if it's hard for you to watch, like, I understand, like, people, they tie themselves to that trauma that was there. I get it. And it happened. No matter who it happened to, it was wrong. Whether it was us doing it, whether it was the Europeans that was doing it, it's still, if you deprive somebody of their liberties and their freedoms. But they was even saying that they let them go. They couldn't afford to keep up the plantation. This way of systematics that we doing now was more profitable, because now if you enslaving the people, now you ain't got nobody to buy your shit. So that hurts an economy. So you got to pay them to pump the money into it in order for it to grow and you get a return on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's like, that's kind of why we in a, it's like a retarded economy we in now, because like we print all of the money that circulates, you know what I mean? So it can't like leverage, you know, it can't leverage this out from what you print out. So therefore, you gonna have a debt system. It's always gonna be debt. You know, there's supposed to be an abundance for all of the households coming from within. You shouldn't have to work for it. It should just be beneath your feet. You know, and you're supposed to speak and things be. That's how we originally moved. That's how pyramids got built. And we over there trying to figure out, it was deep. It was all equity. It was all equity, 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 equity. You can't build without equity. You cannot build without equity, right? But these were ancient technologies and sciences, like, so our vibrations created harmony in the quartzites. So they started moving according to what we were speaking out. So that's where in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, and the word became flesh. You know, that's literally it. And God spoke over the primitive waters, and you know the vibrations is what caused like Moses to part the seas, and then they parted, and then new lands formed. Like literally, bro. I seen a video not too long ago, a few years ago, of land coming up out the water. Boom. So that's real estate. You know what I mean? And then simultaneously that caused other floodings in other territories. Like I seen Lake Norman from the sky. Like, dang, that's like a whole, like I seen the whole Lake Norman in the sky. And it's really like the Santi, I seen the Santi, Lake Santi and all of that, and Moultrie. They about the same size of Lake Norman, and it makes you think, where are these civilizations there too that's underwater? And these are the remnants of what's the one in Lake Lanier in Georgia? These parts of Atlantis. You know what I mean? Was it not just in the Atlantic but on land too? Hmm. And by the way, they destroyed a lot of our castles. Like I said, the castles, the estates, the mosque, all of these that we had here in the Americas to take us away from who we really were in the old empire that was here. So they had to destroy and rebuild to say that, nah, this is not your building, this is our building. That was what the Reconstruction era was all about. They were like, man, this shit nice, but we got to destroy it because we want to be empowered. So we got to build our buildings, because that's where the trauma came in. We had ancient highways, but they built, and our burial grounds were built around our ancient highways because they were there. You feel what I'm saying? They wasn't in the way. That's why we built up. But you get the point. But they came and cut through. That's the damn it. That's the trauma that our people is dealing with right now, and they bastardizing us and acting like we don't even exist right there. We don't even have grandparents and great grandparents that's buried there. They from Africa, but they buried right here. But mysteriously they from Africa, and we was ex-slaves of them Africans. But meanwhile, your grandmother and your great grandmother and your great great grandmother buried right here. But you got people that don't know who you are, never met your grandmother, never sat with your grandmother, never sat with your great great grandmother, don't even know who she is or what she look like, but they telling you that you from over there, and you going along with it. You going along with it. Yeah, well, they said, I read that in the history when the we came from here, they were slaves, and so we gotta be slaves, and that the slaves was really treated really bad, and now we gotta deal with this,
But we can't speak out because we gonna get back in slavery and the slave master gonna whip us.
That's
And we might get killed for what we say, so we gotta watch what we say because they're gonna come and take us from us if we disappear.
man. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna finish with this. I'm gonna finish with that dead Dick Spark. They know the real. They know the real. We're gonna end on the 126 because I am the I-26 and the 95, like I'm St. George. Shakora. Shakora.